So there's this arcadey-like game that I was playing that was for the Sega Genesis, but I ended up getting this in the Evercade as part of the dual pack collection of Metal Dragon and another game, Life on Mars, which I'll talk about in a separate video. But Metal Dragon itself came out around 2021 from Kai Magazine Software, as it takes influences from games like Metal Gear, Mercs, and a couple other influences that you'll probably recognize in this one. So you play as this character called Metal Dragon, and it's their job to rescue the president's daughter. They wanted you to be on a stealthy-like mission, but Dragon had other ideas and decided to go full-blown all-action with guns blazing and plenty of bosses for you guys to fight. And trust me, they ain't easy when I say so. So you think at the time, you think that the game would support 6-button controller, but from my experience, it only supports 3 buttons. So you have it for like your weapon to shoot, one to pause, and I'm pretty sure the other one is your secondary attack. You can use your grenades to hit swarms of enemies, or you can do the smart thing by saving them for bosses, which is something I recommend doing, because bosses take a huge amount of defense, and you're really gonna need those grenades in order to save yourself. There's plenty of weapons for you guys to collect, like a shotgun, a huge assault rifle, I think there's laser guns, and a couple of other weapons you guys can find. But you can only get them by destroying enemy vehicles that are in your way. Like I said before, you can get this in your Evercade systems, or you can go to the Kai Magazine Software's own shop, and you can buy yourself a physical copy for the Sega Genesis. There's a couple of levels for you guys to play, each with their own, well, individual zones, because why not? But there'll be times where you're in codec scene, and trust me, the number is exactly identical as Metal Gear, and I'm not making this up. But they do try to tell you some stuff, but then you have to fight some bosses. So the bosses, it just depends on what they are and whatever. But while you're moving, you hold the fire button and you can stay in that direction if you really want to, which is something that's fine, but it's kind of weird how it's lacking the 6-button support, almost like games like Xeno Crisis and other later games that utilize this, which you think would have came in handy, so that way you'll be able to aim wherever it is that you want to. But I guess for some reason they decided to make it a 3-button controller and not the 6-button like later Kai Software games would. And Life on Mars is one of those games that has 6-button support. The game itself, for most part, doesn't look too bad for a Genesis game, and it sounds great too. And it does play pretty well for an arcadey thing. I mean, let's be fair. The Genesis has always been known for having some decent to good arcade ports. So even the Super Nintendo had some decent, good arcade ports as well. But I think the Genesis does a better job delivering them at some cases. But it is cool to see an arcadey game get brought over to the Genesis once again. So here's some good and bad news for you guys. The good news is that there are saves, but they're by these password saves. Yeah, and you're gonna have to write them down too, unfortunately, or maybe take a picture with your phone or whatever, because you're gonna be needing them. I'm pretty sure they're all like randomly generated, or maybe they're just the same password as they always do, depending on the difficulty. Yeah, there's a couple of difficulties for you guys to select, but even on normal difficulty, the game is hard. But I don't know about you guys, but you can always play around with the game setting to see what it is that you really want out of it. All of that aside, the game is on the difficult side of things, and I think that's what the idea they were going for. But if you guys are liking what you're seeing, I'll leave the link in the description if you guys want to get yourself a physical Sega Genesis version. But for Evercade purposes, you can find your own online retail stores at pretty much anywhere at this point on. Now, when I got the Evercade one, it came with a double-sided poster of both Life on Mars and Metal Dragon, which is pretty cool bonus. So you could basically like hang up this little small poster anywhere in the room. But the game may be on the short side of things, but you'll still have a lot of fun, and you can always go back if you guys thought the game wasn't too challenging enough. But don't worry, despite the challenge, you can still find some health pickups and some ammo for yourself, so that's just something to keep in mind when it comes to playing this game. But will it come out on modern systems like any other homebrew games would, from the Genesis to anything else? I don't know. I can't really say for sure, but if there's enough support, maybe. But I'm just saying this because companies like Mega Cat Studios and other companies like the people who made the Demons of Astralborg have brought it over to console, so who knows? Maybe if Kai Software follows in the footsteps, maybe. But I don't know. We'll have to see what the future holds up for them when it comes to bringing Genesis games to modern systems, that is. But for all the things I would just say, if you guys really like arcade games like Mercs and whatnot, then I'd say definitely give this a check out if you have the time to deal with. But like I said, it's not gonna be like a whole. It takes you the whole day to beat the game or whatever. But it'll definitely give you something to do when it comes to playing games that you probably have nothing else to do besides just sitting there on the couch and just staring at the TV.